Hey, how's it going, boys? What is up? Stars back for another Suptix video. This time it is the August edition. Yes, today's August, right? Yes, it's August, not September, not July. Okay. If I recall correctly, the last video was the last Suptix video was in June, right? And most of it I was covering based on the recent character rebalance. I mostly spoke about that, and probably there was like a lot of shit to talk about. That's why my video was like 40 plus minutes long, because there was so many new character changes and I had to talk about them. And because of that, there's really not much to actually add on to that. So very likely this video is gonna be a lot shorter. So hopefully it's a lot shorter this time after I shorten this, all the long pauses and stuff in between. Yes. So first things first, we're gonna try to cover all the new characters that was added in as usual. Like all the characters that was added in, which is Marina, we have Diva, we have Bale, and we also have Kolulu, which is fairly surprising because Kolulu was recently added not too long ago, I guess. But well, it's been a while since we last got a sub ticket anyway, because it's like technically almost 3 months. It's like slightly lesser than 3 months, but well, since the last time we had it was in wait, 2 months. I can't count. Holy shit, I can't count. It's in June. I can't count. 1, 2, 2. Counting is hard, okay, chat? And the other thing is that we don't really have like crazy amount of changes like for this time around. So like the only other major change I probably can add in is Air, because Air had a full lumen break last month in the middle of a guild war or something like that. Alright, so Bill is one of the characters I was about to talk about, right? So Bill is one of the few new releases on this sub-ticket edition, and he's pretty damn good. He's actually really good for someone that you can sub-ticket. I think if I recall correctly, I rated him under preferred as well. So, but I don't think I included a sub-ticket icon on him. I mean, he doesn't feel like he's really worth a sub ticket though at that time. Maybe now it's okay to consider, because I feel like, because I'm gonna talk about this later, because I feel like he's a very good partner for Air, even though we have a certain other partner that was released not too long ago, right? You know, Air's sister. She's a limited character anyway, fuck her. Not literally, but you get the idea. He has his skill set is actually pretty good, and even if you're relatively new, I would still say that he's not too bad, because he has 2 nukes. He can debuff premium debuffs as well, does help quite a bit. And then not to mention, he can also help one of your allies. It could also be your MC at that time. Maybe your MC is the strongest at that time if you don't really have a lot of characters. But yeah, his skill set is pretty nice, because I'm pretty damn certain that at the beginning, or like when you're still relatively early in the game, or maybe you're mid game or something, you're lacking in like multi attack. Multi attack is always like the number one problems in most of our lineups, right? And this guy does provide that. And not to mention, he has extra defense, hostility, and extra echo. And extra echo is always very nice in Earth, because you know we have a guy like Kame. I'm pretty damn sure most of you already got that guy, because that guy is so freaking OP. He's like probably one of the popular Earth invoker compared to the other guy, poor Lobelia, because nobody bothered to get him. He's like the second least favorite invoker. I'm sad. but yeah, it's actually pretty good in that sense, because he also includes like he increases your chain burst specs, and honestly the chain burst thing is relatively easy to achieve as long as your grid is already like standard grid or whatever, like Magna standard grids and all that stuff. I'm pretty certain hitting the cap of chain burst is going to be super easy. And then not to mention, he can heal, he has good sustain, and then yeah, he's a pretty good character overall. And not to mention, he's an X user as well. So you know, if you're using the Akasha X or Hollow Sky X weapon, he does benefit from that as well. So, which is really nice. Increase because he does have multi-attack, right? So it's probably very easy for him to get triple attack relatively easy, and then increases your damage all together and all that stuff, blah 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 blah, and all that crap. Yeah. So end of story, he's good. He's still very nice up to this day, even though I feel like he's probably gonna get power creep in the next few characters that was gonna be released in probably by the time this sub-ticket ends, you know, like a certain summer LX or some shit like that. Yeah, but hey, it's a Suptix, right? It's a free 10 roll with an extra character along with it. It can't go wrong, right? Okay, so the second Earth character that was I was about to talk about is La Diva. Alright, La Diva, right? La Diva's skill set is super good. Okay. Dude, the grapple is great. The debuff is pretty nice. The nuke is nice. The buffs is nice. It provides multi-attack, hype, and supplemental damage. You can tank with La Diva. You can delay with La Diva. You can grab all the aggro. You can even you can reduce this cooldown relatively easy every time La Diva Ogis, right? So good character. Okay, we're going next because I don't want to kill myself. Man, funnily enough, I don't even consider her as a good sub-ticket target though. Alright, so if you compare to like the other win characters, right? I feel like there's so many, like the other character seems to be like a much better choice to take compared to her, you know? I mean, Yuri's obviously I would say is like the #1 pick, like right now, right? Yuri's is definitely like the #1 pick. It's kind of hard. I know Marina is pretty cool and all, but I wouldn't really say it's like you really need that kit, especially like for someone who has like probably no not much characters to begin with. It's like in that situation, Marina is probably like the worst possible choice that you can make when it comes to this sub-ticket. Like if you're somehow just looking for win characters, kind of shit. Like Marina is nice, but she's not worth to have your sub-ticket picked, you know. Unless you just really want her as your waifu. I mean, Marina has a very nice kit nonetheless, but her second skill like is only available only for one character. You can't really like do like how Folia or whatever other character does, right? You know, when you can link to other characters and then you can extend blah 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 and all that shit, right? But this is technically permanent on one character, but you can't really have more than one because the moment you cast it again on another character, the first character that you cast it on, the buffs will disappear, right? Like then the nuke is fairly decent. Yeah, the nuke is pretty okay. You can hit pretty hard, I guess, to a certain extent with her skill 1, and you can dispel with that. That's cool. And then it's like 7 turns and all. And then her Ogi is pretty nice because you get extra Earth card. You also get win attack as well. It's very similar to the likes of Summerjan, but in the form of a sub-tickable character. It's great, but I feel like you don't exactly need that. Then not to mention like the partial the partial reflect thingy on all allies, and then if you have the second skill on another ally, that ally will dodge all attacks if you have this up. Her passive is a real meme, honestly. All cooldowns will end when an ally is knocked out. It's like, nani? You know? It feels like a meme. But this one is technically her second skill, so it's pretty much like you wouldn't really consider her having like 2 passive. She technically only has 1 passive, because this is technically her second skill, right? It's pretty much a second skill. So her stats are relatively average too. 8700 attack is pretty nice. They can do pretty nice damage too at times. But at the same time, it's like as much as I like the design of this character, I wouldn't really say that she's a character worth picking at all. I don't think I would suggest picking this character at all, even though they're relatively new in this sub-ticket. I wouldn't really say that it's a good idea to pick her. There's probably other characters worth picking anyway, like Urias. Or like her last Sen works too. What's her name? Birdman works too because of these changes. Ulysses is pretty nice on early because she adds a lot of damage to herself, so it's relatively easy for you to get damage at the beginning. I wouldn't really suggest anyone to get Marina yet unless you have like certain setups that you want to make use of her, you know? So yeah. Okay, last new character is Kolulu. Okay, so Kolulu, aka Gisla-chan, right? She is really good. I remember talking a lot of good things about her during my first impressions. Even after trying her out in Fasan as well. After trying her out in like even Metatron and all that stuff. She's really fun to use. And she's actually a really good tank as well. Because of her first skill. And then she can also reduce the cooldowns and all that stuff, and then the amount of nukes that you can do with her is actually really nice. So I will honestly consider like, cause like few videos ago I mentioned how Nicholas was like kind of like a nice character to have like when it comes to going against Fasan and stuff. She's that character now instead of Nicholas. It's like, yeah, Nicholas is great and all, but you can do way more with her. She's way better. I can assure you, like, I've already tested her several times using her in Fasan. Even though my attack is not that great. But she's still pretty damn good. I managed to go pretty damn far with like just using her alone. Kind of like balancing out, like using her guts and stuff for certain situations and all that. And some other ones where you could just take everything, like she can take up Paradise Lost because it'll technically just take 1 damage, right? But she'll technically die, but because she has guts, she won't die. So yeah. So that's pretty cool. She'll survive Paradise Lost with 1 HP left, and then you have like the nukes, because her stacks, you will increase the stacks based on how many times you get hit, right? Well, not how many times you get hit, every time you get hit, right? And in a raid like Fasan, it's relatively easy, I can assure you. I think I got her to fight the 5 stacks in like probably 4 turns, 4 or 5 turns. It's super easy to get her to 5 stacks in that run. Even though she's very catered towards like an enmity grid, right? Because I mean, if you look at her skill set, she's very catered towards enmity, right? You get like extra nuke when you're like at red HP or whatever. Honestly, that doesn't really matter all too much. You don't really have to bother with that. But I can assure you that her attack, because if you look at her main stat, she's level 80 and her attack stat is 11,100. That is a lot for a level 80 character. So even though if you're not using her as like an enmity character, right? Let's just say you're just playing her as like a stamina character. She still does a lot of damage. She just probably would not do the extra nuke, but you don't really lose out a lot if you ask me, because the main part of you getting the nukes is from mashing Ogi in the first place, when you can technically just be a Ogi masher with Dark, especially if you're using the likes of Nia or whatever. If you already have Nia, it helps a lot too. And then you just be mashing her second skill whenever it goes up, right? You know, you can just use her third skill to reduce the cooldown and all that stuff. Yeah, she can nuke really well, even without herself being low HP. And her boost to attack and defense thing, even though she's relatively high HP, is still good enough. Even though I say it's like maybe it doesn't look like it, but it's actually pretty damn good to just like play her as like a stamina character, as in just keep her at high HP and all that shit. So yeah, pretty good supplicable character in a while, I would say, for Dark. Yeah, very nice. I do enjoy her, the way this character was designed. The skill set is really nice, especially like the whole receive all ally attacks thing. She's She's really good. And oh yeah, before I forget, she's also very good for OTK stuff. Like, because you can use her skill too, and then if you Ogi and then she does another extra nuke with her Ogi, yeah, pretty good OTK's option as well, if you're looking for one. And if you're still using Zoe to do the whole thing, the whole conjunction shit, she can technically still she can do that extra nuke again at the end of turn. So technically you're still doing a lot of nukes in that one turn. So yes, she's pretty good for that regard as well. I don't really use her personally in like OTK setups, but probably I may, because I haven't really properly set up yet. But yeah, she's good for that too. So yeah, okay. I think that's it for like the new characters that was added into the Suptix yeah, the pool. Yes, okay. So the last one I want to talk about is Air, because Air recently got a full limit break upgrade. Okay, so Air is also another character that was recently changed because of his full limit break. So I would consider him as a much easier character to use now, because like the changes they did for him is much more accessible for like players who doesn't really have relatively good grids and stuff like that, especially when it comes to like multi-attacking and all that shit. It's much easier to even like get some damage in with just him by himself, because his jolt counter, his second skill, is now you can attack now, but you can't Ogi. So if you just want to focus on mashing autos, you can just have this enabled, and he'll just counter whenever he gets hit, right? So he can technically keep up his bar as long if you don't single attack, more or less. As long you double attack minimum, right? In majority of the turns, he'll never reach 0. if you reach 0, then it goes off, but then you can always reuse it at once it ends its cooldown, right? Or whatever. The other cool thing about him, I would say, is that I kind of noticed that his third skill is like he have permanent guts effect as long as you're above more than 1 HP all the time, or 100 HP or something like that, because you can always recast this, and his guts effect only appears for 2 turns whenever he casts his third skill, right? So if that happens, then yeah, you'll survive that whenever this is in effect. If you heal him up and then you press this again, he won't die every time he have this in effect, which is relatively cool. His first skill is the same, but doesn't really matter. But the other cool thing about him, I would say, is that relatively nice is because of his 100% triple attack whenever he Ogis, right? His this thing helps you to triple attack or do something for like, I think one turn. Yeah, at least you can do damage after Ogi, right? Because 50% echo from his Ogi is pretty damn dank. And then not to mention, if you somehow manage to have Bale already, and then you tag Bale with Air, you get extra echo, you give Air more multi-attack, and yeah, just more damage and stuff. Plus you technically don't even need to use this if you don't really care much about his substitute effect or guts effect, because if you have this permanently up, if you use that second skill on Bale onto Air, he has hostility up as well, so technically he has a higher chance to get hit, which means you can counter more often too, like every turn. So it's a very, I would say, it's a very good partner to have if you already have Bale to tag out with Air. The only problem with that is that you need to get him to level 100 for that, but if you already have like a good grid and all that stuff, getting him even at max limit break, at that point I don't even know why is he still at limit break for you, max limit break for you, if you already have a good grid. I'll be questioning why is he not at full limit break yet for you if you already have good grids, and you're still using him at max limit break. It's kind of weird. I can understand some people probably would prefer his max limit break version over his full limit break because of some stuff working differently. But I honestly think it doesn't really matter at all. Because if you don't really care about his second and third skill, which is one of his biggest changes, besides his passive of course, he still works the same anyway. If you want to play him as NVT, then yeah, you get more multi-attack, you get extra like what 30% cap or some shit. I don't know, I don't remember the numbers, but it's significant enough. But honestly, you don't even need to play him as NVT for him to be strong anyway. So yeah, I mean, I've already tested him quite a bit, and even playing him with just like, I just press his first skill once, so his HP was like between 60 to 70% or even like 50 to 70%. He's pretty damn hard. He can still cap just fine, but it's just that his cap is not that high because you need to get his HP lower so his cap is higher. Yeah, that's his honestly his only downside, especially if you're playing as what's that word? Stamina, Magna 2, yeah? Because if you're playing Magna 2, you're playing Stamina, right? And that's what I'm playing. So if you're playing in that, he can still do damage, but not as much damage because he has to be NVT to get like full potential or whatever. But you don't really have to do that. It's still good anyway. So yeah, Air is a decent character to pick up if you already have like Bale or whatever, or if you want to go for the whole Hollow Sky X lineup thingy. Air is definitely a good pick in that regard. You can tag him with Bale, or the last one you can put Dante and Fahrenheit, or like La Diva. You can even put Medusa in there, I think. Yeah, even Medusa is okay if you put in there. So yeah, okay. So yeah, I think that's all I want to say. I'm not gonna say anything about weapons and summons because they're all the same anyway. I think that's about it for this month's Suptix edition, I guess. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, Pepega, comment Pepega or something, I don't know, or Ricardo Flake, whichever. I love all of you. Bye bye.